All right. Hello and welcome to Tim White Health. My name is Tim White. And in this episode, I'm talking with a former business consultant turned holistic health teacher, movement teacher, mindfulness teacher. And he's all for collective evolution. Yeah. He works with clients all over the world. He went to Thailand to study yoga. I mean, he just did it all. And I'm very happy that you're here, Jared. So I can ask you some crazy questions about your journey.
Thanks for having me, Tim. I appreciate it.
So the first question I always like to ask is, how in the world, if you're a business consultant, right? I think you're in a completely different world, right? Isn't that true? So how did you make that shift? Did it first occur in your mind, or did you see something on TV, or what happened?
So there was definitely a lot of things that came together to inspire my decision to leave the corporate world and, focus on holistic health and coaching and whatnot. But I think the biggest one, if I had to put one single thing out there that really inspired me to do something, was I watched a documentary on YouTube called, oh my gosh, what was it called? It was a London Real documentary about Ido Portal called Just Move. That was the name of it. And it was really, really inspiring. Now, leading up to me seeing that documentary, I had a bunch of things going on. I was working at a desk at a 9-to-5 job, and I was starting to get some weird hip issues going on, which inspired me to get a lot deeper into my yoga practice. Earlier in more of like my teen years, I had struggled with a lot of anxiety and depression, which led me to meditation practices and breath work. And I also was very interested in things like weightlifting and just movement in general, although my practice looked very, very different at the time. So there was all of these things that were sort of starting to come together, but felt like very different parts of my life. And then all of a sudden I watched that documentary, Just Move, and I suddenly started to realize that there was this opportunity for me to take what I had learned in the corporate world about design and business and entrepreneurship as well, and apply it to something I was really, really passionate about and I knew had helped me in my health and my wellness and just my lifestyle in general. And I could potentially teach it to other people. And that idea just got me so excited that I was like, I can't do this anymore. I was kind of on the verge of burnout as well with the corporate job. It was really, really heavily demanding, and I wasn't really passionate about it. So I saw this opportunity, and to keep it short and sweet, I just took a leap of faith in myself, and I trusted that things would go well and that pursuing my passions was the right thing to do. And I think it was. It's been an incredible, what's it been now? A little over 2 years, maybe closer to 2.5 since I decided to make that decision. And it's been an incredibly challenging, but very, very fulfilling few years. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So business consultant, shortly before the burnout, hip issues, and now you say, okay, I can't do it anymore. I'm gone. How was the conversation with your boss when you said, I'm going to quit and go to Thailand?
I was, it was an interesting, not just one conversation, but a series of conversations with, a variety of different mentors and, managers, partners within the company I was working for. And a lot of paperwork too. Like it was a lot, but, I think most of the conversations were actually quite understanding. As well, it was a large company and I was good at what I did. So I think that people had some faith that I wasn't just totally crazy, but there was actually something to why I was trying to do what I was trying to do. And people didn't really understand it completely at the time, because in all honesty, I didn't even understand 100% what it was that I wanted to do precisely, but I knew it had something to do with health and wellness, and it had something to do with digital entrepreneurship and, putting my passions and my skills together in some way. And honestly, even now I'm still connected with some of my old colleagues. And I think, I hope that I'm some kind of an inspiration for some of those people. Not that what I am doing is what everybody should do, but I think in some respect, everyone should pursue what they really love. And so those conversations were certainly challenging, but I was very lucky to have some very understanding people that I worked with, and I'm really grateful for that.
That's great. Yeah, I mean, the worst thing that can happen is if they just try to pull you back or something like that. So exactly. You walk out the door. You have some aspirations. You go to Thailand. You do yoga teacher training.
Actually, I did my teacher training in India, actually, but I spent about 6 months in Thailand living there shortly afterwards. Yeah.
All right. Maybe to anyone who's watching or listening to it right now and they're thinking about doing the same, do you have anything you want to kind of share? I mean, you could maybe do a yoga training online, right? Why to go to India? Why to go to Thailand? What's the added value?
So I do actually teach online, just for those who are interested. But for those who are looking to, potentially pursue something like that for themselves, obviously my experience was with actually going and doing the yoga teacher training, but I met a ton of people who were just kind of digital nomads or entrepreneurs of some sort that were traveling and supporting themselves at the same time. And through my travels, I was actually trying to figure out how to support myself at the same time, which honestly wasn't the best idea. So number one, what I would recommend is have a pretty clear idea of what it is you want to at least try before picking off and going, and find some very early signs of successes and just signs that what you're pursuing has a lot of potential before just like picking off and going. I was in a really, really financially stable enough place that I knew even if it took me a long time to figure out, I'd be relatively okay. But that being said, even then, I still had to work as I traveled. And again, I got lucky because I found a gym in Thailand just after completing my yoga teacher training and my personal training certification, which I did online. I found a gym in Thailand that offered me a job because I was literally just training there every day. And I think what I did was like, the way that I move and the way that I train is definitely alternative. So it kind of caught people's eye. So number one, definitely have a relatively clear idea of what it is you want to do, especially if you know you're going to have to support yourself all along the way. I would also consider the fact that your passions are definitely something you should pursue in life. I think for me, my biggest fear is getting to my deathbed and having a bunch of ideas of things that would have been incredible to pursue or incredible to do and not have chased them, at least tried to turn them into a reality. That's a horrifying thought to me. So if you have something you're super passionate about and the idea of putting your all into it is incredibly exciting, I just don't understand how you couldn't do it. Take a leap of faith in yourself and just go for it.
Yeah, very true. Very true. All right. Yeah, I'm happy you did it because otherwise we wouldn't have the conversation today, probably.
I'm happy too.
So maybe going a little bit more into the space of what you're doing at the moment.
For sure.
I would like to start with asking for this connection between movement, health, and the mind. Since you embarked on a journey, I think you started as a very heady person, probably also with the creative artistic side. And now you've moved a lot into this like body and meditation realm. Can we connect the two? And what did you experience connecting factors between body, mind,
so kind of
and health?
Connecting the sort of creative side of what I was doing in the corporate world to more of the movement and mindfulness side of things. Is that?
Yeah, I mean, I would say you probably live more in your head, right? When you sit on a desk all day, you're just stationary and you work here. And now you started to work like here, right?
Yeah. Actually, you know what? Just the way you said that is actually a good way to sort of encapsulate how my journey's been going is like, I've always been a highly philosophical person because I actually got into, this might sound strange for some people, but business is very creative. And I actually ended up getting into business through studying art and design. So I went to an art and design university, and I've been a very philosophical, very conceptual person my whole life, which is why I love spirituality and stuff like that as well. And so, yeah, I was very in my head, but there was also this part of me that loved to lift weights, and I just like squatted and benched and, deadlifted like a madman for a long time, which is another reason why my hips were so screwed up, was just terrible form deadlifting for like 3 years. But basically, as I started to transition more into teaching yoga, into coaching movement and mindfulness and lifestyle, I started to literally, you can start to feel your mind body connection growing and growing and growing. The more in tune you get with all the different systems in your body, whether muscular or organic or whatever it is, the more it's a literal sensation of connecting the mind with the body. And now I have this deep belief in proprioceptive training. So ground-based movement and ground-based calisthenics practices like animal flow. I'm an animal flow instructor. That's another one of the certifications I've got. The more you connect the various limbs with your body and the external environment, the more you build up this proprioceptive sense, and the more you can literally extend your brain into each and every cell of your body. And to some people, that sounds a little crazy. They're like, well, okay, I can feel my hands, but like I can't really feel my knees. But if you start to train in a certain way where you're really, really focusing on specific points of the body, and you're really focusing in on specific areas that need improvement, maybe it's because of postural imbalances, maybe it's because of aches and pains, you will literally start to build up a mind muscle connection or a mind body connection with those areas of your body. And eventually it really permeates through your entire body. And it's an incredible feeling. And so, even now I'm literally sitting on the floor. I'm not sitting in a chair. I've got a couch behind me. I've chosen not to sit on, because even when I'm talking and even when I am doing things that are, more associated with mental activities, I now know the physical implications of sitting in a chair versus sitting cross-legged on the floor. I can't think straight anymore unless I'm sitting cross-legged. If I'm sitting in a chair, there's this thing in the back of my head that's like just bugging me. It itches almost. And so, yeah, literally that journey has taken me a bit out of my head and into my body. And it has really helped me calm my mind too, because anxiety and stress and burnout when I was in the corporate world have been things that I've struggled with through my whole life and continue to manage, but I don't struggle with it anymore, but I have to manage it through all these practices. Right. So I'm much less here and much more spread throughout this whole body.
Yeah, that's beautiful put. Yeah, I very much agree with that. I had kind of the same experience when I started moving more. I really like my first, everyone starts at the gym, right? Everyone starts lifting weights, and you can be very heady too and just go through the movements. But then when you start like really moving, doing yoga, these kind of things, you really connect to your whole body.
Absolutely. Yeah. And another thing on that note is, as much as I still really enjoy weightlifting, and there's obviously incredible benefits to strength and resistance training using external objects. So many people turn to that immediately. Is they want to look great, they want to feel strong, and generally, you see what other people are doing in fitness and health facilities, and you copy them because it's like, what else do you do? But the thing is if you don't learn how this thing works, then picking up these external tools and moving them around isn't going to enhance that mind body connection. A combination of both, I think, is ideal. And definitely for people who still are working on like fundamental movement patterns. And, if people who don't know how to squat properly, people who don't know how to lunge or push or pull or twist properly, you need to take a step back and you need to focus on using your body first. Or there's a great saying, and unfortunately I can't remember who said it, but it's something like, learn to move before you load your movement. Because if you're not moving properly and then you make it even more challenging, then you're just ingraining poor movement mechanics. You're ingraining poor posture into your physique by putting weights in your hands or by putting a barbell on your back. So I love weight training. I still do it, but I had to take a step back and let go of it entirely for a matter of many months, even though I was already a pretty proficient mover and yogi and all these things, before picking it back up again. I lost a bit of strength, but I gained a ton of movement capacity and a ton of new ways to move my body, a ton of mind-body connection. And it's, now I just feel exponential amounts healthier and just better in general. So,
yeah, man, it's 100%. Everyone should start like that. No question. Unfortunately, right, it's not really on the radar of a lot of people because first, I think a lot of woo-woo in that statement, for people who are not really connected to that. And second, of course, this aesthetics and just want to get the muscles. I just want to get that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
There is some alternative, or there is some sort of pseudoscience there, and it's important for people to kind of be capable of and have the attention span to dive into the science behind things and understand what is pseudoscience and what is true science. So that's a really good point, and that's why I really appreciate we've had some talks leading up to this one, and I really appreciate your approach to things, whether it be nutritional or just kind of lifestyle and movement in general, because you have such a deep scientific knowledge. I really appreciate that, and that's really, really important.
I agree. Thank you. Yeah. Out of your experience, what is the most important part you focus on, maybe with beginners, but also now for yourself at the moment, to stretch and to make flexible and mobile? Where in your body, where do you start? Where do you focus on?
Yeah. So when it comes to flexibility and mobility, hips, always hips, like probably 99%. Okay, that's a lot, but like maybe 90% of postural deviations stem from problems with hip mobility. So whether you've got back pain or knee pain or ankle mobility issues, or even like spinal and shoulder mobility issues, all that stuff starts at your hips. So the more mobile your hips become, suddenly you're allowing more space for your spine to become straighter. You're allowing more space for your femurs and your thighs to maybe externally rotate a bit and allow your knee joints to sit properly in that socket there, or in that hinge would be more appropriate to say. And it sends this cascade of effects outwards from the hips through the entire chain, or the kinetic chains of the body. And so start with hip mobility. Start with number one is twisting. So most people think like, okay, I want to mobilize my hips, I'm going to stretch my hamstrings, which that's a great thing to do. That's definitely a big part of it. But rotation is probably the biggest one. So sit on the floor or lie down on your back and let your knees rotate from side to side, creating like a windshield wiper motion. That's one of the most essential hip mobility movements you can work on. And then from there, you kind of move outward from the hips. So you want to open the hips, and then you want to stabilize the core with lots of twisting work and lots of spinal flexion work and things like that. I don't like sit-ups, but go for twisting stuff, maybe hanging on a bar, bring your knees into your chest, do a little bit of squatting, do a little bit of lunging to strengthen up the thighs. And you literally start from the hips and move outward through the body. That is the best place for beginners to go first. And then as you get more and more advanced with your movement practice, you can kind of stem outwards from the body, move from the ground up, away from the ground, bring your center of gravity away. That's why handstands are so challenging, but sitting on the floor is like nothing. I'll stop there because I could go on and on, but those are definitely my top tips.
Yeah, I mean, just great input. For people who sit a lot, right? And maybe they have hip issues, but they also have this like hunched forward desk posture. So I just got a question about neck, shoulder, just hurting, just being stiff because maybe you've hinged forward. Do you have anything about that?
Yeah. So one of the biggest things for posture, it's when it comes to, like waist up, is obviously the shoulders. And a lot of it comes down to the strength of your upper back. And a lot of people, as soon as you say like back strength, they think, okay, I want to like just row and pull, which is a great thing to do. But you want to focus specifically on your shoulder blades and the ability to pinch your shoulder blades together and then draw them down. So basically, pinching your shoulder blades back and then pushing them down away from your ears. Okay. So what that's going to help you do is literally go from this rounded posture to one that is open and proud. Right. So a lot of scapular work or work on the muscles between your shoulder blades is really important. That helped me fix my posture because I worked a lot at a desk, and my issue is my eyesight is so shit that I have to stare at the screen like really, really close. And so I had to get used to also like Command Plus, zooming in on my screen and being very mindful of like wearing glasses versus wearing contacts and whatnot. So it's definitely the way you train. Strengthening your upper back muscles will get rid of some of those aches and pains and the tightness in your upper back, because surprisingly, strengthening a muscle group is actually a great way to relieve tension. But you want to do a combination of stretching and strengthening. Again, I'll stop there. I could keep going for so long, but I think that'll, focus on the retraction and depression of your shoulder blades, pinching them together and drawing them down away from the ears.
Perfect. Yeah, great tips. And everyone can do that, right? Even if you sit on your desk and you just mention it, you can just like this.
You can literally sit here and just pinch them together and then push them down. Pinch them together and push them down.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect. Jared, if you could, and you would have to, someone forcing you to stick to 3 exercises for the rest of your life,
right?
For a daily routine. Maybe make it 5, okay? Something like that.
You're making it easier on me.
Yeah, do you have some go-to things you do every day, which you just say, this is golden?
I think, because variety is so important to me, and I think should be important to everybody, because personally, like, my goal with my movement practice is to be able to move my body in literally any physically possible way that there is. And the human body is, people tend to define the uniqueness of humans by our intelligence and our brain. But I think it's equally important to recognize that humans are capable of more movement patterns than any like large multicellular organism I know of that I've been able to do research on. Humans can swim, crawl, push, squat, lunge. They can balance on their hands. That, like, go to Cirque du Soleil and find another animal out there that can do what some of these people in the Cirque du Soleil can do, and you will prove me wrong. But variety is insanely important. But if I had to choose just a few, it would be some kind of squatting or lunging movement, like maybe just a sitting in a deep squat is super important. Something hanging on a bar, and something twisting the body, like something that gets your core moving. If you'll let me have 2 more, because you said 5 maybe, it would be some kind of crawling.
That's interesting.
And something inverted, like not necessarily a handstand, or maybe it's a headstand. Maybe it's just like a plow pose in yoga, like something that gets you upside down. So let me sum those up. Something where you're squatting, like maybe a deep squat, something where you're hanging from like a branch or a tree, like we used to evolve as monkeys, something where you're twisting to get your core and your spine moving and fluid, something where you're crawling and pushing on the ground, and something that gets you upside down. Those are the 5 things I would choose. And again, I like to talk about movement patterns, not necessarily specific exercises. So that might not have been quite as specific as you wanted me to be, but those 5 things are just so important to learn how to do, at least at like a fundamental level. And if you do learn how to do those things, Jesus, that's probably all you ever need to do. Just fundamental levels of squatting, crawling, hanging, twisting, and inverting. And God, you will feel so much better. Yeah.
Yeah, I love how you put these together, because you're absolutely right. That's the foundation. If you don't mind, I would like to talk a little bit more about the crawling, because that was kind of an unexpected answer. Could you maybe go a little bit into what crawling can do for people?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, if you go back to, pre-human evolution, so like when we were primates and apes and monkeys and stuff, and you look at the way that an ape moves, it sits on the ground a lot. It crawls around with its fists on the floor and stuff like that. And it gets all 4 of its limbs on the ground to walk, basically. As well, obviously, you see monkeys hanging from trees and whatnot. That's another reason why hanging work is so important. But crawling, number one, getting all 4 of your limbs and potentially more points of contact on the ground helps you build up that proprioceptive sense that I was talking about before. Because basically the ground is this, it gives you feedback, right? It tells you where your body is in space. As soon as you have that sensation of touching the floor, your brain knows where that limb or where whatever part of your body is touching the floor. Your brain knows where that is, and it helps you build up this proprioceptive sense and enhance that mind-body connection, again, as I touched on earlier. And so the more work you do crawling, the more you get your whole body touching the floor, the more feedback you have through the floor for your brain to build up this connection with each and every limb, each and every cell of your body. And I mean, I can go deeper. Crawling is great for pushing strength and the strength of your upper body. It's great for your core. It's great for your lower body. It's like a whole body related movement pattern there. But really, I think crawling just gets you close to the ground, gives you feedback, and builds up that proprioceptive sense, which is absolutely essential for learning how to use your body.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Interesting. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's I find it so interesting that you talk about that, because proprioception is something which is not mentioned, right? If you in standard training literature, no one talks about that. Exactly, maybe they talk about balance, but then that's already it. Yeah. Very interesting stuff. People take close listen to this, man. Get your notebooks out. On your website, there's this great statement, and I would like to quote it. With a free body and a clear mind, we can understand ourselves, our choices, our habits, and the impact we have on the world around us.
Mm-hmm. So
how do we achieve, that's a leading question is, how do we achieve that free body, which enables us to have that clear mind, which then allows us to do all these things?
Yeah. I think freedom of body for me, again, is about, to put it in the simplest possible terms, it's about mobility. How many different ways can you move your body? And how open does your body feel? Not just strength, not just flexibility, but how open is your body? Can you feel into each and every cell, as I've been talking about with this mind-body connection? And, do you feel constrained? Do you feel like you're in this like meaty tomb? Or do you feel like your body enables you to live in your world in a better way, right? If you have aches and pains and all these kinds of things, I wouldn't call that freedom. But if you feel great in your body, you're going to feel great in your mind too, or at least start taking the initial steps to feeling great here as well. So as a yoga teacher and as somebody who's, I love Hindu and yoga philosophy. I love Buddhist philosophy as well. These practices teach us to start with the body. So once the body is open, so like I'm literally sitting here cross-legged right now, and I can sit cross-legged for long periods of time because I have extremely great hip mobility because I've worked on it a lot over the last few years or more. And so now I'm able to sit extremely comfortably without my body getting in the way and focus on what's going on here. One of the next limbs of yoga practice, or it's called Ashtanga yoga. There's these 8 different limbs that yogis move through to go from, a life of suffering and torment to a life of freedom, right? Or what, some will call enlightenment. There's different names for it. But the next limb after the physical postural practice is pranayama, or breath work. So I do a lot of breath work myself. And then the successive limbs are all sort of various kinds of meditation work. And the breath work and the meditation is all designed to connect the body and the mind, and then to free the mind of stress or of unneeded sort of self-inflicted stress or self-inflicted suffering. It's to clear the mind of excessive thinking, and other various blocks to mental freedom. And that's a long sort of, there's a lot of different techniques there. But it's really, once you open up your body, you're going to allow yourself to then start working on freeing your mind. Because if your body still aches and it's sore and you've got pain, it's going to distract you, and you're not going to be able to sit for long periods and try things like breath work and meditation. You're going to have to get up every 5 minutes and go, oh, my knee, or oh, my hips. And it's not going to be fun, because believe me, I tried it and it wasn't very fun. My hips hurt like heck when I tried to sit cross-legged for more than 5 minutes, especially my right knee, because I had some injuries. But once you work past those, then all of those sort of successive practices more mentally and spiritually related become just infinitely easier.
Awesome. All right. Well, if people are interested in working on freeing their mind and body, start with the body, then go to the breath practice, to the meditation. Where can they find you, and how do you work with clients normally?
Absolutely. So check the link in my bio. So I have one-to-one coaching service, and I also have an online community and an on-demand training library of bodyweight exercises, classes, and flows. I have live workshops as well, all under one membership. You'll basically get access to like all of my services under what I call the Evolution Collective. So it's this collective of people who are all very interested in these practices we've been discussing. And that's the best way to get, or that's the quickest way to work with myself in a very personal way. Like I will do consultations with you. You can message me over Facebook Messenger and I'll get back to you as quickly as I can, as well as you'll get access to all of my live workshops and tons of on-demand tutorials and flows and classes and stuff like that. And then if you want something deeper, something super, super personalized, I have one-to-one coaching options for you as well. If you just want to send questions, if you just want to engage, if you just want to chat about something, just send me a DM. I'm genuinely, I love to talk to people about this. I love to help people in any way I can. And I really do this because it makes me happy, not because of the money or anything like that. I just love doing what I do. That's why I left my job. And that's why I do this now, is because I love it so much. So check out my page, follow, send a DM. I'll follow you back. Like just, engage in whatever way feels best for you. Yeah.
Sweet. All right. You heard it here. Jared, thanks so much for your time. I know you have to go. And thanks for all the wisdom.
Yeah, thank you so much, Tim. Let's stay connected, and we should have more of these talks soon, because our discussions have been really great, man. Thanks for having me on, and hope to see you soon.
Definitely, man. Yeah, fruitful discussions all the way. My pleasure. Would like to have you on again. Let's make it happen.
All right. Awesome. Thanks, Tim. Chat soon. Yes. And bye, everybody.
That was our talk with Jared. Evolve with Jared is his Instagram handle. And if you want to find him on TikTok, you can also find him. On YouTube, you can also find him. And if you are stuck at home at the moment, all gyms are closed. Well, I think it's one of the best options you have is to sign up for on-demand online lessons, because there you get all the value from the comfort of your home. Yeah, right. You just need this like square of space, and you can just start with bodyweight training, with hip mobility, flexibility. And once everything is back up again, well, perfect time to show your skills, right? You're quite in quarantine. So check it out. And with that, I leave you for today. And thanks so much for listening and watching, and hope to see you next time.